Hello and welcome. This is Ayana Lahi, and I'm so very happy that you are here with me today in this week's episode of Be One, Be You. We are diving into the topic when you feel justified to use your anger. We all have the power of choice, the choice of responding and acting upon an impulse, a thought, or feeling. When we feel justified, we are usually acting out a past experience that's usually not conscious, meaning we're not aware of it. And that justification has to do with I exist. Who I am really matters. And there are always times in our early life and as we're growing up and fully maturing into ourself that we feel that another person or situation is not really acknowledging who we are. Perhaps we think that we are one way and we need someone else to confirm, acknowledge your own picture, your own definition, your own sketch, your painting of you. And so many of us will go through a time in our life, or perhaps you're presently in it, or wondering what feels odd when you are needing others or another to make who you are feel okay about yourself. There are times in our life when we are judged, and that feels really pretty uncomfortable. And we all know what that feels like. And most of us are really, really talented at judging ourselves. That part in your mind, you know what part I'm speaking of, the part that is quick to make sure that you don't go outside of the framework, the box, the structure, that part of your mind has created to keep you a prisoner in yourself. Sounds pretty crazy wild, doesn't it? Everything that we see in the outside world exists inside of ourself. And so the only solution is to become aware of what impulses from within ourselves we are responding to. As we awaken, we choose which impulses to follow. The self who believes it's justified to say what it wants, even if it hurts someone, justified to act out its stuffed feelings, such as anger. Anger is actually the most superficial feeling of all of our human feelings. It's pretty wild to think about that, feel into that, enter into that door of the anger. It always has to do with feeling as though who you are can't exist, shouldn't exist, and that if you do, there's some price to pay. That price might be the fear of being judged, actually going through at some point in your life, going all the way back to your beginning of your life or early childhood, of feeling humiliated, shamed for who you are, what you think, what you feel, your body, how you show up. A lot of you listening in to this podcast are wired into another frequency other than the frequency that is so prevalent in our world, global culture right now. Something else is pulling you up, pulling you forward. And sometimes you wonder if you are even justified to follow this invisible yearning inside of yourself, and where is it going to take you, because you can't see where it's going. In the true realms of infinite spirit, the juice from the infinite source, that quantum infinite space that's inside of you, that actually has a meeting point right inside of you. When that gateway is shut because of fear from being judged, humiliated, shamed, put down, you all know it. We all know it. And the bigger the soul, the more fear that is there. And to learn how to give yourself space to really be who you really are underneath the anger that accumulates through your life experiences. For those of you born into a family structure, family system, where there are unspokens of how things need to be, should be, you know what I'm talking about. The underlying anger that happens from that scenario can be turned outward into the world or outward towards others consciously. When it's put out into the world, it's a distraction. When you have opinions and judgments to the world, to a race, to a culture, to a gender, to a religious belief system, there is something that happens in us, human peoples, in our psyche, when we feel separate from, when we don't have what someone else has, or we want to feel like we have more than someone else, or that we're better. And it's a real lower place to go to, and we see it everywhere. And it comes from fear, and it comes from justifying the faults. So the place to start is to pay attention to how you as a very precious being, very, very sacred being, because who you really are is you are a spark of the infinite source. You are that. And as you become aware of who you really are, you realize that you're connected to all life. And yeah, you're an individual. Your life energies are uniquely yours. And that's what makes being alive so fascinatingly incredible. We justify our anger to protect ourselves. What are you protecting? Usually our ego, that part of that mind in you, that wonderful mind that can go aloof, it can get really opinionated, and it can rule you and think that it's the master of your life. Instead of mastering it, it masters you, and you become subservient to it. And if you're into putting on enough fronts or falsities or denials or just turning your back on yourself, us humans, boy, we're really good at creating a very dramatic story of what we don't have, what we want, and can live in that agitation with the anger. The anger lives in the lower base of your body. The anger comes from shutting down the root center, that space between your pubic bone and your tailbone and your lower belly, which you find through putting your thumb in your navel, your pinky on your pubic bone, and drop your second finger, the index finger, down into your belly. And then you have your creation point, which is in between your navel and your lower belly. So in between where your second finger, your index fingers on your lower belly, put your thumb in your navel, and then put your second finger of your other hand in between, in the middle, between your navel and your lower belly, your creation point. That's the seat of your personal power, your sexual creative life force energies. It's the fourth lumbar. It is a power station. It is where your life forces are coiled, waiting to be taught how to move through your spine into the light. We justify our anger when we do not know how to move the darkness into the light within ourselves. True transformation happens through the alchemy, the shifting of molecules, literally, the shifting of energy that can get very condensed, very stuck inside of you. And that's what creates the same thoughts happening all the time. So if you're jumping on a trampoline, or you are jumping rope, or you are doing some active workout, yoga, movement, and you are rooted in the earth, you are bringing the light up from the earth, up through your legs into the root center, and then you begin to move that light from the core of the earth up through your base. Now this begins to move the stagnant energy in the lower part of your body, and it begins to bring up the rage or the anger. You have to choose if you're going to go the path of resistance, which is the anger, and the will of the lower mind, the ego self, that mind that says, hey, you stay in the box. I'm in charge here. You just need to do nothing, just rest, hang out, let me run the show. But something happens inside of all of us where something starts getting aroused, starting to want to move inside because you're tired. You might be sick and tired of feeling as though you are a servant to the wrong thing, the wrong energy, the wrong force of life. And there is an awakening that begins to happen, something that gets aroused. It's through your own anger, the anger of maybe what your finances look like. Maybe it's about how your mother treated you, or how your sister treats you now, or how your ex-husband or wife doesn't respect you. They still don't get you. So the question is, when you're feeling peeved, agitated about how someone else treats you, doesn't get you, doesn't see you, how do you treat you? Do you continue to try to keep yourself in a box? And you still feel frustrated, there isn't enough inner happiness happening inside, And then you get angry. And where do you put your anger? Is it being sent inward? Do you shrink into the wounded child and things feel hopeless and so sad you can't do anything? Does it feel like a force of energy that is very sexual and needs sexual expression and connection in order to feel like you exist, to actually feel that movement inside yourself so you can ride that current? How much of your sexual energy is anger and how much of it is divine? And do you know the difference? The way that you begin to know the difference is through connecting in with that source of light, because it will meet you where you are. It will never, ever take you where you're not ready to go or able to go, because you're a perfect being already. And inside of you, you are connected into that true light force power. It's right there. And that light force inside of you can be trusted as you train your lower self, just like Yoda did with Luke. And that is a reality. And in the spirit gateways trainings, you receive that training, that guidance and tools and the way to move through the deepest, darkest places inside of yourself, and they always come to the light, because all of life is gracked in with the light, and that light is love. Just the shift from ending how we turn against ourself and turn against that amazing, beautiful flow of life energy and feeling it in your heart center, opening in your heart, allowing you to come forth. When you use anger to express what is frustrating the heck out of you, your anger about not having, not getting, wanting, not having been given it, it's still the state of separation. And it keeps you in that spiral of being addicted to the anger, that there's always something bigger than you. There's always something that keeps you in a separate state than the one within you, the oneness, that meeting point with the infinite source. That is the commander being inside of you. That it is a combo of love and power, real power, that comes from surrendering into that source within you. When you're done with justifying your feelings, such as anger, and being willing to use anger to define your existence, and use anger instead of tapping into that real life force energy, that power within you, not pushing, not the old masculine paradigm, but actually first receiving your life energy, your feminine, moving it in your body, opening to receiving it and embracing it, opening your own heart to what's inside of you. Many of you ache inside and yearn for that reunion with love, with that greater happiness that you want. We all want it. Happiness comes from receiving the very source within you and letting it feed you and inspire you and keeping your mind out of the way. The old mind paradigm, the grip, the holding on, the making something happen, the using your will instead of the connection with the source, the light within you, prevents you from transforming, that transformational experience of the alchemy of moving what's been hiding in the dark within you into the light. And those awakenings, those moments of going, oh, I see, I really do have a choice of what I do in this moment with my anger, which comes from a fear within you. When you realize that and you give that over, you surrender that into the source of light itself. You allow the light to transform you. And that is a short synopsis of a very powerful experience, transformation that moves you through a gateway closer in to touching into the source of all that you are, which is really an amazing experience to realize. And it's slow, and it comes and it goes, and you dedicate yourself to steadying that connection. And in the Evolutionary Empowerment Global Village membership, which teaches all of the Spirit Gateway's 21st Century Liberation Roadmap, it is the pathway. It is a roadmap that is very spiral. You enter it where you are, and you awaken into yourself, making use of all the info, the teachings, the practices that you receive through the Global Village membership. And I'd love to invite you to read more about it and go to my website, ayanalehi.com. May you have a beautiful week and holding you in deep love as you walk your life, connected into the source of the love, the true power, that life pulse inside of you. Until next time, thanks for being here with all of us. This is Ayana Lehi.